Chop, chop. Time to boot up and suit up, everybody. That's right. We here at Americans Learn were once again marching with Alexander the Great and the Battle of Isis, or Isis. Yes, the greatest general in history? Possibly, maybe. But I think, I think we all know who the greatest hero of all time truly is. Aurelian, but we're not here to talk about Aurelian. We already did our campaign with Aurelian, but we're here with Alexander the Great as we continue on with our marching, pushing forward to building the great empire of Alexander the Great. So grab yourself a tasty snack and a tasty beverage. And without further ado, let's get ready to enjoy this video. By the way, this is from Epic History, so the original link to this video is in the description box below. So let's get ready to enjoy this video in a 3, 2, and an uno. Let us march with Alexander the Great.
In 334 BC, Alexander, the 21-year-old king of Macedonia, led a coalition of Greek forces against the greatest power of the age, the Persian Empire. He led an army of skilled veterans. At its heart,
I'm really digging the graphics of the Rome 2 Total War machine. So, to the editors who really focused on making this video outstanding, great choice.
Men of the Macedonian phalanx, armed with the 18-foot Sarissa pike, and the elite horsemen of his companion cavalry. Together, at the Battle of the River Granicus, they'd won a first decisive victory over the Persian army. Now, as Alexander approached Sardis, capital of the Persian province of Lydia, its commander surrendered without a fight.
As he should.
But before Alexander could advance further, he needed to neutralize Persian naval power. Persia had a powerful fleet with major naval bases around the eastern Mediterranean that could potentially cut his lines of communication back to Greece.
You can't have that. Now, I don't think they ever talked about that in Oliver Stone's movie. I mean, again, I think that was a great film, and not to mention the director's cut is like, what, 3.5 hours? That's a super long movie, but it's worth it.
Rather than challenge the Persians at sea, Alexander decided to attack its nearest bases, the Greek coastal cities of Miletus and Halicarnassus. Both put up determined resistance, but were taken by winter. The following spring of 333 BC, Alexander continued his advance into Lycia and Phrygia. At Gordium, he was shown the legendary Gordian Knot.
Now this is funny because, well, let's just say that knot's going to be chopped in two.
A prophecy said that whoever could unpick it would rule all Asia. Alexander simply took his sword and sliced it in half.
Hey, let's be clear here. A knot like that, you're not going to spend your time. Can you imagine, like, you're a king or an emperor, you're trying to solve the Gordian knot, like, oh, I can't unsolve it. Nah, man, pull out your sword and chop it in two.
Meanwhile, Memnon of Rhodes, a skilled Greek general in Persian service, led Persian warships into the Aegean and captured the islands of Chios and Lesbos. But after Memnon's sudden death from illness, the offensive was abandoned. "18 months had passed since Alexander's army crossed the Hellespont and invaded the Persian Empire. Now Alexander led his men into Cilicia and was soon poised to cross the Nur Mountains into Syria. But then the main Persian army, led by King Darius III himself, emerged behind the Greek army to the north. Darius was determined to trap and destroy Alexander's army, which he outnumbered almost 2 to 1. So he blocked Alexander's only escape route by moving his army to the coastal plain near Issus, just 6 miles wide, from mountains to sea. The narrow battlefield would force Alexander to fight, but it also prevented Darius exploiting his huge numerical advantage. His army, by some estimates, was up to 100,000 strong, and contained some of the finest soldiers in his vast empire, including 10,000 of his own household troops, known as the Immortals.
We'll put that name to the test. If you know what I'm referencing, I love you.
His best cavalry were massed on his right towards the sea, where the ground was better for horses. His best infantry, his Greek mercenary hoplites, formed the centre. Persian infantry formed his left wing. Alexander deployed his own army for battle, once again entrusting his left wing, nearest the sea, to Parmenion, with the Greek cavalry and infantry. In the centre, as always, was the Macedonian phalanx. Alexander positioned himself and his best troops on the right wing, toward the mountain slopes. His elite Agriane javelin throwers, his archers, and behind them the Hypaspists and the companion cavalry. When Alexander saw the strength of the Persian cavalry facing Parmenion on the left, he moved across his Thessalian cavalry to reinforce him. Despite his overwhelming numbers, Darius held his position behind a small river, the Pinarus, and waited for Alexander to attack. He didn't have to wait long.
Well, what's fascinating, what I want to say is clearly eye-opening, is that you have the massive numbers of the Persian military, and again, perhaps Darius was overconfident in his numbers. But the thing is, Alexander has to be hungry to escape this trap. And if you start causing enough panic within the elite guard and other professional soldiers that Darius has, that army will break.
Alexander called out to his men, urging them to fight bravely, picking out some by name. Then, at the head of his army's right wing, he charged. Once again, the speed and shock of the Macedonian advance sent the enemy reeling back. But in the center of the battlefield, the Macedonian phalanx was in trouble. In its effort to keep up with Alexander, its formation had become disordered.
The phalanx must hold.
Now, in fierce fighting with Darius's Greek mercenaries, the phalanx was slowly being driven back. Alexander, seeing the danger, regrouped and led the companions in a headlong charge straight at the Persian center. The Greek mercenaries, threatened on their flank, were soon in disarray, and the Macedonian phalanx was able to resume its advance. Alexander fought his way towards the great king Darius himself. Rather than face this apparently mad and fearless Macedonian king, Darius fled the battlefield in his royal chariot. Meanwhile, the Macedonian left wing under Parmenion was in a desperate fight against the best of the Persian cavalry. If the Persians could break through here, they could envelop Alexander's army and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But Parmenion and his troops fought doggedly and continued to hold the Persians at bay.
Hold!
As the news that Darius had fled spread among his troops, they abandoned the fight.
Think about it. The king's telling you to fight and die, and he runs away like like a coward. I mean, he could have easily chosen a better spot in which he could have deployed his own forces, which again explains why, when Alexander was able to reach all the way to Babylon, the prize plum of the entire, Persian Empire, it was all of it was soon to be under his possession. But the thing is, as we progress into the story, once you start controlling the world, now you have to run it.
And tried to save themselves.
Hold on, rewinding that.
The fight, and tried to save themselves.
Well, I should have dodged. Maybe that's how one of my previous past lives died. I died by being ran over by a Persian warhorse.
The battle turned into a massacre. Ptolemy, one of the Macedonian commanders,
Ptolemy. Seems like a name we should know. Somehow I think we will hear it, and how shame will fall upon it when they betray a council of Rome.
told Alexander there were so many Persian dead, his men had used them to fill a deep ravine so they could cross over it.
God, that had to smell.
The Battle of Issus was a stunning victory for Alexander. And amongst the spoils of victory were Darius's wife, mother, and 3 children, all taken alive and well treated by Alexander. With the Persian field army in retreat, Alexander now turned to subduing the western territories of the Persian Empire.
Hey, don't be slow thinking on me, computer.
The next year, 332, the coastal cities of Phoenicia submitted to Alexander, ending Persian naval power in the Mediterranean.
Oof.
But the island city of Tyre resisted. Tyre's defenders fought bravely and skillfully, even when Alexander began building a causeway to the island, protected by 2 giant siege towers, which they counterattacked with fire ships. But after 7 months, the city walls were breached and Tyre fell. Most of its citizens were killed or enslaved.
Well, let that be a lesson. Never challenge Alexander the Great.
Gaza, too, was taken by siege.
Oh. Yeah. And that's the last time there's ever going to be any problems in Gaza.
Enslaved. Gaza, too, was taken by siege. Alexander.
And everything was okay afterwards. No more problems in that region whatsoever. None. None.
Continued to Pelusium on the Nile Delta, where the Persian governor of Egypt surrendered the entire province to Alexander, along with the royal treasury. At Memphis, priests of
Memphis in Egypt, not Memphis, USA.
this ancient land welcomed Alexander as their liberator from Persian rule, and crowned him pharaoh. At the mouth of the Nile, he founded a new city, Alexandria, then travelled to the desert oracle of Siwa, where according to some accounts the priests welcomed him as son of Amun, king of the gods. Alexander returned east to Tyre, where in 331 BC he received news of trouble back home. Despite his great victories over the Persians, many Greeks regarded Alexander as a tyrant.
How dare they? Why would you do that after everything he's done for you? Shame.
King Aegis of Sparta, with Persian support, now launched a revolt against Macedonia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sparta. With whose support? Persia? What would King Leonidas say to you?
Antipater, Alexander's commander in Greece, was already dealing with rebellion in Thrace. But he quickly marched south and met Aegis in battle near the city of Megalopolis. Even the legendary Spartans were now no match for Macedonian military power. The Spartan army was crushed. King Aegis himself was among the fallen.
Yes, Leonidas must spit on your grave now.
With his base in Greece secure once more, Alexander advanced towards the Persian heartlands, seeking a final showdown with Darius. He received a letter from the Persian king offering him a fortune in gold, his daughter in marriage, and half his empire in exchange for peace.
He's already conquering your empire, you stupid moron. Why would he do that when he could just take it all?
But Alexander's stunning victories, all the oracles and acclamations, had now convinced him that his destiny was to rule the world. He rejected the Persian king's offer. He didn't want half the empire.
Give me the whole thing now.
He was coming to take it all. Research and artwork for this video comes from Osprey Publishing's extensive range of books on ancient history. Every Osprey book examines a particular battle, campaign, or combat unit in authoritative, meticulous detail. And with more than 3,000 titles, they cover everything from ancient warfare to modern conflict. Visit their website to see their online catalogue. If you'd like to help us make more history videos, please visit our Patreon page. Huge thanks to Invicta for their help in making this series. You can find...
All right. Well, first of all, okay, if you're King Darius, you're losing battle after battle, you have two choices. It's either you die standing and stop the invader, or, you just try and run away as fast as you can, because no matter what, Alexander the Great is going to take what he wants, all right? It is abundantly clear with victory after victory, especially with the speed, because, I have to look back at the ancients, without mechanized vehicles or support or anything of stuff that we take for granted in this day and age. In over a year, Alexander the Great is able to conquer a huge sway of land, probably not only through the actions of his military, but words of his actions, and in turn causing many city-states and nations and territories and provinces to reconsider any kind of resistance. I mean, think about it, how fast the word spread, And the thing is, like with our cell phones that we have at our fingertips, we're able to get information in mere seconds. But even then, with such key victories that Alexander the Great was able to achieve, people were able to share and spread the word. So tune in next time as we continue on our glorious campaign, because next spot is Babylon. We're taking the prize Plum City. It will belong to us as it should, as Alexander the Great conquers the world. But the thing is, can he still control it?